Hi, Zorp is an easy way to build native mobile apps for your internal teams. Today, we're going to build a simple HVAC service application. This can be used by the technician on the ground of any HVAC service business to do their tasks. So it's a simple application which shows the instructions, the order ID, the customer name, shows the direction towards the customer's location, and once the technician reaches, we collect some pre-service details. We can take some images as proofs. And once pre-service checklist is done, we can go to post-service. Again, take a few images as proofs. Add post-service notes. Collect the customer signature. And complete the work. Now let's try to build this entire application using the Zorp platform. What you see here is the Zorp Builder. So Zorp Builder will help you design your entire mobile applications visually. So the core part of the Zorp platform is a workflow. So workflow involves a series of mobile application screens and the connection between these screens. Now here we only have two screens, but if you look at the HVAC service application we're looking at, we have 4 different steps. The first step is the service personnel is going to see the details of that specific task in their mobile app. The second screen needs to be showing directions towards the customer location. So let's create another screen here. So we can use this to create a new screen node. I'm going to remove the existing transition. And we will create a connection between the first one and the second one. The next step is the actual service. So we will create a screen for collecting the pre-service details. After the reach, there is pre-service. And similarly, we can have another screen for post-service details. So this is for post-service. And once post-service is completed, task can move to the completed screen. That's it. So this forms the basic workflow that we're going to perform. Now let's start designing the screens themselves. To design any particular screen, just click on it to open it into the full view. So right now the screen is empty. We can design the screen using the UI components that we have available as part of the application. So UI components are ready-made components which you can simply drag and drop to design the app UI. For example, we have dragged and dropped a simple text component. A text component can show any text information. It could be something like instructions. And I can say perform the requested service. Or it could be showing something like the customer details. So I can involve customer name and I can provide the customer name over here. Say Andrew. But the important thing over here is that the customer name would be different for every single order. So since we are designing this application, we need to create a way where the customer name can be fetched from a database. This is typically how software systems actually work. So the advantage over Zorp is that Zorp provides a default database along with every single application you are creating. So click on this box icon to see the existing database of Zorp. So here we have some data fields which are provided by Zorp by default. For example, what is the ID of the task? What is the created time? What is the account ID? Which team or which user is executing the task, etc. But we need some data field to store the customer name. So how do we do that? It's very simple. Go back to the main page, click on the configure data fields button and create a new data field. So I'm going to call this customer name. There are multiple types of data we can create, including file, images, a list, a boolean, a location, number, etc. So here for customer name, we're going to use text. And there are 2 types of data usage for a data field. There are sometimes we send the data as part of the task creation. For example, for this particular order, like a service order, the customer information, the order ID, the location where the service technician needs to go to, all these are provided as inputs. Whereas what the pictures that need to be collected at the customer location, or the cash that was actually collected at the customer's location, all those things can be collected during the execution. So anytime we want to pass information to the task, use this checkbox so that these data points will be collected as inputs. So we click create. So as soon as we hit create, this field gets created inside our database. Now we can start using it. So go back to the application, and instead of the static customer name, we can choose the data field we have created. So the customer name will automatically appear. Simple. So similarly, let's add a couple of other fields. I'm going to add order ID. There should be some reference ID. And I'm also going to add the customer location. So we have a specific location data type which has the ability to handle address, latitude and longitude. So if we have only the address, you can pass only that. Or if we have only the lat and long, you can pass only that. Hit create. Alright, so we'll probably add the order ID also. Order ID. And I can use the data field that I have just created. Done. So the first step is done. Let's start designing the travel step. So I'm going to open the next step, call this travel, and similarly in the travel, I can say the customer name. I'm going to choose the data field that we have created. And similarly, I can show the customer's location. I'm going to choose the address field of the customer location. Now, the interesting thing is just a text address is not going to be enough. We need a map-based location so that our technicians have turn-by-turn navigations. So how do we do that? Very simple. Instead of the text display component, we use a map component over here. Drag and drop. Call this customer location. And instead of static latitude and longitude, we can use the data fields that we have created. I'm going to use the latitude and I'm going to use the longitude over here. Done. Very simple. Now let's move on to the pre-checklist, pre-service checklist. Service checklist. So here I might want to collect some inputs regarding what the problem is. So I'm going to use a text input box. And I'll call this issue details. Okay, and the data I'm collecting over here, I would want to save it in my database so that I can use it for any kind of analysis in the future. So that can be done by clicking on save this data field, and we have the same database. Since we have not created any field to store this already, we create a new data field. Is the text field and hit create. So now whatever data that's entered by the technician in this field will get stored under issue details. So similarly, I can collect some images, pre-service images, drag and drop the image component. Call this pre-service images. I can specify whether camera is allowed or gallery is allowed or both are allowed. I'll probably allow only camera here, and I'll say minimum 2 images need to be collected. Okay. And again, whatever image that's collected at the time of execution, we can save this in our database again. I'm going to create a new field. I'll call this pre-service images. All right. So let's move on to post-service checklist. So here we will do similar, like post-service images. Only camera is allowed, and 2 images. I'm going to save this data into another field. And let's say post-service, I want to add some notes. So we call this post field. And I can collect customer signature. So drag and drop the signature component, and this will let a customer sign on the screen itself. So get a new data field for signature. I can even collect things like payment, where I have the ability for the customer to scan a QR code and pay, or provide it via cash. And similarly, we have the ability to upload files. We have radio drop down, daytime components. We have a list component. We have plenty of other components. So I'm going to leave it as it is for now. And the last step is a completed step, where we simply probably will need to provide an acknowledgement. Alright, so now our application is fully ready. Now before we go ahead and start using it, there is one other step I would want to show. One core part of what Zorp actually is, it provides the ability for you to neatly plug in the Zorp system to the rest of your tech stack. Like for example, let's say you have an order management system or a subscription system. You might want to push the status of these service orders to that system automatically. Or it could be something like sending an SMS to the customer regarding the status of the order itself. Right? So how do you execute those kind of advanced functions where the Zorp system can talk to any of the external systems? So the way we do that is by something called actions. So actions is our automation framework. You click on any particular transition. So it has a provision called actions, where you can call a REST API. So any system that supports REST API can be integrated. So it could be your SMS, or it could be your WhatsApp channels, or it could be your ERP, CRM, ServiceNow, any of these systems, or it could be your own internal systems. So all you have to do is provide the method, enter the corresponding URL, provide the headers and the body. At the time of execution, the data gets automatically pushed to that external system. Very simple. Alright. So once our application is ready, now that it is, all you have to do is just hit publish. The moment you hit publish, the application goes live. There is nothing else needs to be done. So you don't have to download the code, you don't have to upload it to Play Store, you don't have to deploy anything. You don't need to do any engineering activities. The application is like fully live. Now, what are the next steps? So you can download the Zorp mobile app by scanning this QR code or clicking on the App Store or the Play Store icons. And once you download, you can log in with the credentials of the existing Zorp platform, and you'll be able to see all the tasks that are assigned to you. Now, since you have not created any task for the HVAC service, let's go ahead and create one. So to do that, just hit on create task. Choose the workflow that we have created. As you can see, there are plenty of other workflows that are also available. That means you can use the same fleet of technicians for any HVAC service or any other service you have at home. So once you choose a particular workflow, the input data fields are automatically created for that particular workflow. So here we can provide which team it belongs to and which user needs to execute this particular task. Now, team and user framework and access control framework are provided by default by Zorp, so you don't have to build those things explicitly. I'm going to provide an address. I'll provide the name and probably an order ID. So hit create. Now the task is created and it gets assigned to this particular user. Let's log into our mobile app to see how this user can execute this task. Alright, so what you see over here is my phone, and you have the Zorp mobile app automatically already installed. I'm going to click on this. So it opens the account that I have logged into. So you can just download the app log in with your credentials, and you'll be able to see it over here. Now each card that appears over here are the tasks that I'm supposed to execute. As you can see, I have some older tasks that are already in my app. The one that we have created right now for HVAC service is present over here. To start executing this particular service task, all I have to do is just click on it. So here you have the instructions that we provided, and the order ID and the customer name, which we provided as input at the time of task creation, is automatically shown. So I hit next. I am shown the address of the customer, and I am also shown the map based location. Now if I want to get turn by turn navigation, all I have to do is just click the navigate icon. It takes me to Google Maps, and using that I'll be able to create the navigation. Let me go back here. So once I reach the customer's location, I can click next. So I provide the pre-service checklist. Filter needs to be replaced. And I can take a few images. So if you remember, we said at least 2 images need to be collected. So once the images are uploaded, I can move on to the next step. Then we have post-service images. Again, we'll take, let's say, 4 of them. And until this gets uploaded, we update the notes. All changes have been made. And let's also do the signature part. So I click on the signature, and the signature is captured too. So once it's done, I click on next, and a task is completed. Now I go back to my original task, and I'll be able to see all the images and the signature are already uploaded. Now, one of the interesting things is that you need not create these tasks one by one. Zorp also provides you an ability to create these tasks in bulk. There are 2 ways to do this. One is by using this option called bulk task creation. So open it, choose the same HVAC service workflow that we have created, and you have a CSV template. Using this template, you can create tasks in hundreds or thousands. There is another more efficient way, which is via APIs. So as soon as you publish any template, Zorp dynamically creates REST APIs for you to create tasks. That means if you have an already existing system that maintains all your orders, you'll be able to push those orders in real time to Zorp using those APIs. So that means you don't have to manually create them one by one. Now, apart from this, there are multiple advanced functions that Zorp actually provides. It provides an ability to collect location when the technician is moving around on the ground, so that you know how much distance they are traveling, which location they are present, etc. You also have the ability to add certain validations to make sure that they're doing their jobs correctly and as expected. We also have advanced functions like OTP verifications or payment confirmations. There are many other things that we can actually do, but we'll not cover that in this session for brevity. Hope this was useful. All it took us is probably 20 to 25 minutes to build this entire HVAC service application. And this application can be completely customized according to your own specific needs. And you can even run multiple types of services within the same application and using the same technician feed. Hope this was helpful. Thanks a lot for listening.